But we're going to do something different today. God led me to a different passage. I hadn't done this in a very long time, so bear with me. Tony, I am tossing all of my notes and going to a different passage of Scripture. We're going to be in 2 Kings chapter 6. We're going to a completely different passage of Scripture. Actually the sermon I had prepared today was actually 3 sermons, and I'm not doing any of them. So bear with me as we roll with this. We're going to be in 2 Kings chapter 6, on page 312 if you're using the Bible on the rack. You can look in the YouVersion Bible app, but the notes will not be there. So you can just find the Scripture there if you would like. 2 Kings chapter 6. Something unique going on here in 2 Kings. If you've ever read through 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, there's a lot of bad intermingled with spurts of good. There's a lot going on there. There's the kingdom of Israel has a civil war, splits apart into 2 separate kingdoms, and they at times war with each other, at times war with other people, but the vast majority of the time they're doing evil things. They're being led by evil men, being directed to go in evil ways, and they're walking far away from God. And in the middle of that situation and scenario, God raises up unique individuals to be prophets and try to steer his people back to where they need to be, back to the path that God has laid before them. One of those guys was a man named Elijah, and he called fire down from heaven, and the entire nation said, yes, we want to worship God and stop worshiping these other gods. That lasted for about 15 minutes, and they went back to doing what they were doing, and Elijah kept doing miracles and kept trying to point people, kept trying to change the king and point him back to the Lord, but that did not pan out. It got to a point that Elijah got scared and ran up in a mountain and complained to God, and he said, I'm all alone, I'm by myself, I'm the only one here serving you, God, and the king and the queen want to kill me, and here I am hiding in a cave because no one's out there to help me, and my day is terrible, and everything's going bad, and it's just awful. And then God shows up, and he says, you're not by yourself. There's a whole bunch of other people who are following me. You just feel like it. And because you're here doing this, your next assignment is to go and find your replacement. And so he has to go and find his replacement, the man who's going to replace him and be the new prophet for the nation. And so Elijah goes and obeys at this point and has faith from that point until the end of his life. And he goes and he finds a man named Elisha. Maybe you had to have an E-L at the beginning of your name to be a prophet back then, but he had Elijah, and he goes and he finds Elisha, and Elisha follows Elijah and learns from him and gathers from him and goes wherever he goes and does whatever he does, kind of apprenticing under him. And then Elijah, the time of his ministry comes to an end, and he's going to go out by himself, and Elisha follows him, and a chariot of fire comes and sweeps in between where Elisha is standing and Elijah is standing. And it says a whirlwind, a tornado, shoots out of the sky and sucks Elisha up off of the earth, and he is no more. And he goes, and now Elisha is the man God has to direct the nation. And so he does kind of what Elijah did. He goes and he gets a guy to follow him, to apprentice under him. But his guy isn't filled with as much faith as he was under Elijah. And so where we find ourselves here in 2 Kings chapter 6 is there's a scenario where Israel's at war, and the prophet Elijah and his servant are in the middle of a space trying to direct the people of God to where they need to be going. And so we're going to be in 2 Kings chapter 6, start in verse 8. Once, when the king of Syria was warring against Israel, he took counsel with his servant, saying, at such and such a place shall be my camp. But the man of God, that's Elisha, sent word to the king of Israel, beware that you do not pass this place, for the Syrians are going down there. And the king of Israel sent to the place about which the man of God had told him. Thus he used to warn him so that he saved himself there more than once or twice. So the king of Syria, trying to ambush Israel, says just to his generals, just to his guys, we're going to take the troops, we're going to put them here, and we're going to attack Israel. And God tells Elisha, they're going to do this, so you need to go tell the king. So Elisha goes to the king and says, hey, don't send the troops that way because Syria is setting up over there to ambush us all. And so the king redirects where the people go. And naturally, if you're the king of Syria, going through all the process of setting up this ambush, and Israel keeps dodging your ambush, you're going to start to get a little frustrated, maybe begin to even suspect some of your own generals that they're betraying you to the other side. Verse 11. And the mind of the king of Syria was greatly troubled because of this thing. And he called his servants and said to them, will you not show me who of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet who is in Israel tells the king of Israel the words that you speak in your bedroom. So the king naturally does get mad, get angry, and says, one of you guys is betraying me and sending word to the king of Israel so we can't go and ambush him. And one of the servants, with great bravery and courage, speaks up and says, no, king, it's not one of us. It's that prophet they've got over there. He keeps telling the king the very thing that you're whispering in your... He tells the king every secret you've got. You've got no secrets because the prophet's over there whispering it. So it's not us, it's him. It's him. He's the one doing it. Verse 13. So the king says, go and see where he is, that I may send and seize him. It was told him, behold, he is in Dothan. So the king says, you need to go and find that guy, that prophet, and you need to kill him right now because we want to get the enemy, we want to get Israel, we want to kill everybody who's there. So you find him. And so the generals send out their spies, and they find out where Elisha's staying. He's in the city called Dothan. And they said, okay, fine, there he is. We're going to go and we're going to take him out. I mean, he sends not just his assassins, all right? He's going to send everybody. He's going to send everybody he's got after Elisha. Verse 14. So he sent their horses and chariots and a great army, and they came by night and surrounded the city. So picture this. All right, that's where that song comes from. Elisha is in the city, just being in the city, doing his thing, praying every day, reading the scripture, communing with the Lord. And in the middle of the night, the army of Syria comes and surrounds the entire city. You've got, the horses, you've got the chariots, you've got their foot soldiers. Everyone's there. And Elisha's sleeping like there's no issue. Verse 15. When the servant of the man of God rose early in the morning and went out, behold, an army with horses and chariots was all around the city. And the servant said, I'll ask my master, what shall we do? So his servant goes out to do his early morning chores, as you do in the morning, and he gets out there and he looks up and he sees surrounding the entire city the army of Syria, and he freaks out. He panics because he knows what Elisha's doing. He knows that Elisha is telling, most likely what's going on is Elisha would receive a word from the Lord that Syria is going to be here, so go and tell the king, and he would send his servant to go and tell the king the message. And so the servant knows that they're thwarting Syria's plans to ambush Israel. And so the servant looks up and he sees the banners flying that have Syria's colors on them, and he is losing it. He's going crazy, and he runs into Elisha, and he says, Elisha, we're surrounded. Elisha, we're going to die. This is bad. We should have left yesterday, like I said, but here we are, and we're surrounded, and this is the end. What are we going to do? But Elisha does not have a cow. Verse 16, he said, do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Now, if you don't have that verse highlighted or underlined, you need to do it. Maybe you need to write it on a card, put it on your fridge, put it in your car, because that verse will carry you some days that you may need it desperately. Do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Elisha knew something that his servant had forgotten. His servant, who walked with Elisha every day, should have known God was still there. God was still protecting them. God was still walking beside them, even though physically it seemed like they were surrounded. It seemed like there was no way out. It seemed like they could not even try to escape the city if possible because there were people everywhere, scattered. And the longer they waited, the worse it got as the army grew closer to the city. I think of, my mom was a Texas history teacher, so I think of the Battle of the Alamo. And at the Alamo, the guys are in the Alamo and they're stranded there and they're surrounded by the enemy army. And the first few days, the enemy army only has a handful of people. And then it grows every day. The longer the guys stay in the Alamo, the greater the army grows by thousands and thousands every single day. And it gets, at one point, they ask if anybody wants to leave because there's still gaps in the enemy soldiers that they could jump over the wall and they could slip through the gaps and not get caught. But if they waited the next day, another battalion arrived with several more thousand guys, and all those holes were filled in and there's no way out. And that's what we're seeing here. They're in the middle of that city where they could have escaped the day before. Maybe even if they woke up in the middle of the night and the Syrian army was getting close, they could have still slipped out in a different way. But now, at this point, there's no way. There's no way out. It's completely surrounded in every possible avenue. The enemy is there. You ever felt that way? Completely surrounded by a scenario or situation? Completely helpless to what you're going through. Maybe it's some kind of anxiety that's filling your heart. Maybe it's a health issue. Maybe it's your financial situation. Maybe it's a relationship that you've got. Maybe it's something at school or at work, and you can't see a way out. And some days it's almost overwhelming to just endure the day, and you feel like you're surrounded. Well, that's what this guy is. Surrounded. But Elisha says, man, you forget that those who are with us are more than those who are with them. Now, an interesting thing here is that he's using the plural pronoun, those. He didn't say the one with us. Naturally, if he's just talking, God is enough to take care of the enemy forces, but God uses more than just himself. He sends somebody else. Look at verse 17. So that's all Elisha says to his servant. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And then Elisha prays. This is the difference. He prays. Where we're going to get to 17, but his servant simply saw what he saw. Elisha prays. Elisha goes to the Lord. Verse 17. And he prays, "O Lord, please open his eyes that he may see." So the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. The mountain was full of horses and chariots all around Elisha. It's interesting that it says it was all around Elisha, because Elisha's in the city. The army's around the city. But when it says it was all around Elisha, what's key here is it's also around the city, and it's also around the enemy army. But it's around Elisha is what it says. Even though it's surrounding the enemy, it's saying it's around Elisha, because that's why the army's there, is for Elisha. Not just for protection, for deliverance, for comfort, for peace. So he prays, Lord, open his eyes that he may see. So Elisha's prayer didn't change the circumstance, didn't change the situation. The enemy army was still there. Everyone else who was in the city of Dothan walked out that morning and saw the enemies. But Elisha doesn't pray, God, I pray that the enemy would leave and flee, that you would protect us, that we would be able to walk out and nothing would harm us. No, he prays, God, open his eyes so that he can see as I can see. But notice it doesn't say, open his eyes that he can see as I can see, does it? Look, everybody look, it doesn't say that. Open his eyes that he may see. We have no indication that Elisha actually saw the horses and the chariots of fire. He just had the faith they were there. He had the faith that they were there. And he prayed that his servant would be able to see. And everything changes in that moment. Not just for the servant, but for us reading it. Because look at just the beginning of verse 18. When the Syrians came down against him, Elisha prayed to the Lord and says, please strike this people with blindness. So the Syrians are starting their attack, right? The servant goes out, sees the army, freaks out. Elisha comes out, Lord, help him to see. And he sees, and the mountains around Elisha are filled with horses and chariots of fire, figures of war surrounding everything there. And the Syrian army starts their charge and their attack to the city, trying to kill one man, but in doing so, they're going to wipe out the entire city. And Elisha's just standing in the middle, not even hiding. Maybe he's even got his servant holding up a sign with an arrow. Elisha, here, right? He's here. Don't kill those people. He's here. And they're charging the city, and Elisha, in absolute calm, prays again. I want to give you a visual of this. I saw a pastor do this one time with a different passage of Scripture. But we're going to do, I need help. I need help. Mikey, you come on. Jimmy, you come on. Sally. If you're close and I know your name, I'm going to call you. Brandon, come on. Crystal, you come on too. Hey, Tasha, you come on. I'm telling you, you're close. Hey, Chris isn't even looking at me. Come on, Chris. Turner, come on. Y'all come up here on the stage. Come up here on the stage. Come on. And so he's standing there. Y'all come over here. Let's get 4 of you. Come up here and just stand around me. That's 3. Yeah, one more. That was a surprise. Look. Brad, why don't you come on too? Byron, why don't you come on too? You thought you were safe way back there. Come on. And so this is the image. Surrounded. Surrounded by, let's say, the enemy. Yeah, mean face. Surrounded, and there's no way out. I mean, everywhere I turn, they're there. They're everywhere I go, everywhere I look, I see somebody who's surrounding me. But there's somebody else who's there. Let's get down on the floor, because this is going to turn out poorly if it's not. And so Elisha's in the city. Let's get my enemy around me again. And then everybody else, y'all get around them. Stand around them. Stand all the way around. There we go. Good. Now, they look bad, right? I mean, all right. I made the right choice in who I put where. Yeah. And so even though I'm surrounded. You see, he says there in the passage, they were around Elisha. They're also around the army. They're also around the city. But the enemy is there, the struggle is there, the difficulty is there, but the Lord is there too. Even though I'm surrounded by you. The enemy, the struggle, the difficulty may seem overwhelming because that's all I can see. That's all I can feel is that presence closing in on me. But what's around them are horses and chariots of fire, far more powerful than what I've got immediately around me. Far stronger than what I've got immediately around me. I may feel overwhelmed and oppressed, but this isn't the end. It's not over yet. That scripture that says you are more than conquerors isn't just there for you to feel good about yourself or for you to put up in the workout room when you're doing a squat. It's about spiritual matters and carrying you through the day. Now, thanks, guys. Y'all can sit. You may feel like you're surrounded, but you're surrounded by the Lord. You may feel like you're surrounded and you can't get out, and that your influence of being surrounded is having a dynamic impact on those around you by your attitude and your spirit and how you are expressing yourself in frustration and irritation, that you're getting mad at everybody else, but it's really not everybody else that you're mad at. You're mad at the situation and what you're going through and what you're feeling, and you don't know how to express that because you're feeling like it's just pushing in on you, and the weight of this thing, it won't let go. But that's when the Lord steps in. It says that very phrase, do not be afraid, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And so what we need to pray in that moment, we can pray for deliverance all day long. We can pray for rescue, and we should, but we should also be praying, Lord, open my eyes that I may see. That I may see that I'm not alone. That even though I'm surrounded by you. But the story here doesn't end there. The army's charging the city. And Elisha prays in verse 18, Lord, please strike this people with blindness. So he struck them with blindness in accordance with the prayer of Elisha. Now, we're going to read the rest of this passage, but Elisha doesn't pray for the eradication of the enemy. He doesn't pray that the enemy would be killed. He doesn't pray that God would shoot fire out of heaven and wipe them out, or shoot fire out of his fingertips and they would all be dissolved, because that's what they want for him, is they want him to die. Sometimes when you find yourself in opposition to somebody, or somebody else is in opposition to you, maybe commenting on your Facebook, and you wish you could block them in the moment, but it's too late, they've already commented, and you're really angry or frustrated with somebody, or it's a relationship you've got and you're frustrated with that situation and that person, and it's not that you want them to die, but you may not want some great things for them. But Elisha just prays that they'd be struck blind. You say, well, that's pretty bad, struck blind, but watch what he does. Verse 19, Elisha said to them, this is not the way. If it was me, I'd be disguising my voice a little bit. This is not the way, and this is not the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. And he led them to Samaria. Now, he doesn't say Elisha's not here. He says, this is not the way. I'm going to show you the way. Verse 20. As soon as they entered Samaria, the capital city, Elisha said, O Lord, open the eyes of these men. He prays it again. Just as he prayed for his servant, open his eyes, now he prays it for the enemy. Open the eyes of these men that they may see. So the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and beheld, they were in the midst of Samaria. And as soon as the king of Israel saw them, he said to Elijah, my father, shall I strike them down? Shall I strike them down? Elisha delivers the enemy army to the king. And the king walks out in celebration. All right, shall I strike? This is it. We got the enemy now. The guys who've been oppressing us for so long, we can wipe them out with one swoop. But Elisha says no. Verse 22. You shall not strike them down. Would you strike down those whom you have taken captive with your sword and with your bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master. So he prepared for them a great feast. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away. And they went to their master. And the Syrians did not come again on raids into the land of Israel. Instead of striking them, he set before them a feast. Instead of defeating the enemy, he gave them sustenance and supplies. He strengthened them. This is the opposite of what any of us would, I won't speak for you. If I'm the king, I'd say, no, man. These guys are trying to kill you, Elisha. You've been telling me all this time they're trying to kill us. And here they are. We've got guys standing around with swords ready to take them out. We're going to take them out when we have the chance. That's not what he does. He doesn't defeat the enemy, because the enemy here is still somebody the Lord wants to redeem. And he sets a feast before them. If you were the Syrian army, what do you think is going through your mind right now? I'd be waiting for the other guy to eat first. Okay, he looks okay. Making sure the food is not poison. But they eat the food, they go home, they tell the king, their king, Syrian king, what happened, and they don't attack Israel anymore. This isn't an issue of killing them with kindness. This is an issue of issuing grace and seeing God work through that grace. Whatever is coming against you, your response to that thing is either a display of your humanity or Jesus' grace every single time. More often than not, just confession time, I respond in my humanity. In my humanity. I have a situation and I have a flare-up, a flare-up of humanity within me. So, I'm going to get them. But we have to allow the grace of Jesus to not just suppress it, but eradicate that feeling. Because the faith we display is the life he wants within us. Faith, a life of great faith. A life of Elisha and not his servant. A life where we say, open their eyes that they may see, whether it's to the guy by our side or to the guy coming against us to attack. Open their eyes that they may see. And so here's the word this morning. You may feel like you're surrounded, but you're surrounded by him. Whether it's here in DeQueen, whether it's in the doctor's office tomorrow morning, whether it's in your home and you feel like you're even being attacked in your home, whether some of you may be frustrated and irritated and you didn't want to come to church today because of who you might see in the hallways. You may feel like you're surrounded, but you're surrounded by him. And whatever has come against you, greater is he who is with you than he that is in the world. Not so that he is coming against you can be attacked and belittled, but so that the redemption that flows through your veins can pour out on everyone around you. So, will you walk in defeat this week? Look what's surrounding us. Everything is terrible. The world's it's going down the tubes. It's going down the toilet. It's going to hell in a handbasket. You know, the government and this and that and this policy and that policy and this person and that person and this is going on over here in our community and the hospital and this and over here and that and we're going crazy. Or are you going to say, I may be surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This isn't the end. In this world, John chapter 16, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart. Jesus said, I have overcome the world. We are not more than conquerors alone. We are not overcomers by ourselves. That can only be found because, as Elisha said, those who are with us. Those who are with us, he who empowers us and embodies us and flows through us, only with him can this world be conquered and overcome. Can his grace change everything? Does that mean that doctor's appointment you got's not going to be easy, not going to be hard? No, it's going to be hard for sure. That appointment, that meeting you've got with your boss on Thursday, that's not going to be a rough one. Yeah, it is. But it's not the end. It's not the end because of Jesus. Does that mean because of what your teenager is doing and you don't know how to handle it and the world is going crazy and your mom's telling you, well, you're getting back what you did and everything's just going nuts and you don't know what's going on and this demon in your house is just changing everything. Does that mean it's over? No, because the Lord is with you. 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 It's all over Scripture. And if you ever watch, this just came to mind, the old Bible miniseries from a few years ago. If you haven't, go and watch this on Netflix. But the phrase that I love is it's said through the first few episodes of that show, and it's straight out of Scripture. It's said as a battle cry. It's said as a comfort. It's said. One individual says it to himself as strengthening. The Lord is with us. The Lord is with us. We're not alone. We're not by ourselves. We're not out here to walk through this struggle all alone. That's why this servant was afraid. He was a believer in God, and yet when he saw the enemy, he still got afraid. But he went to somebody who said, don't be afraid. And then that guy prayed for him. We all need that person beside us who we can go to and say, I'm scared, but then who will say, don't be afraid. Those who are with you are greater than those out there. And then pray that we will see that. But even though we need those people, we need to be those people as well. Not just for others, but for ourselves. For ourselves. And if you've never had somebody quote you back to you, maybe you hadn't said enough. That happened to me 2 weeks ago. I was complaining about something, and that person quoted one of my sermons I'd even forgotten about. I said, that's a good, you said that. I need to take better notes. The Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. Don't walk out of here and allow the overwhelming pressures of this sinful, fallen world defeat you. The Lord is with you. The world will beat you. The world will surround you. The world will try to get the better of you, but the Lord is with you. That's the one point of this whole sermon. The Lord is with you. Write that down. Put it on your mirror. Get that tattooed on your forearm. The Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. The Lord is with you. And everything else is nothing else is strong enough to defeat that phrase itself. Those 4 words. The Lord is with you. You can personalize it. The Lord is with me. 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 You get that phone call that you weren't expecting. The Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. You step into that new season of life that you're not quite ready for. A new child, a child leaving, a move, a job change, a job loss, a devastating diagnosis. Those 4 words will still carry you. The Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. Horses and chariots of fire. The Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. The Lord is with you. The enemy's coming, but the Lord is with you.